Well, it's about time I talk about this. Hi, it's me, Religious Pony Ponfolio, and this is another Disenchantment video, and I am also the creator of the Dos Aroquitas meme. Spoilers for Season 4 if you haven't watched this series already, or the rest of the new seasons itself. Thanks to Matt Groening, by the way, but, I've been thinking I would do this myself, because it's my favorite series and I want to talk about the whole series, but I already done that in a collaboration video with Gotcha Brony. You might want to check her out pretty soon. She's on my subscribers list. Anyways, I'd like to review Season 4's Disenchantment because I'm really excited and I rewatched it the second time yesterday and you would not believe it. Alright, so let's get a head start for what we got so far. But there might be some major spoilers, like I already told you. But I still want to get in some details after I talk about the episodes that I haven't realized until I rewatched it yesterday. So better be prepared. Strap in if you haven't seen the series already. This is going to be an epic mind blow, and there might be some huge plot twists and references in this video. Okay, let's go. February 9th, the release date for the 4th season. We start off with Love is Hell, a recap where Dagmar and Bean were taken to hell to get married. Also, they're debt to help, which they really do over. Because they plummeted to hell. Okay, enough. Anyways, Bean doesn't want to get married for the 3rd time. Wow. 3 marriages and 3 eyes. I can see why that makes sense. Anyways, it turns out that Dagmar is behind every twist and turn of, like, Bean's actual events. When I first heard of those quotes, I was all like, wait, are you serious? This is like some sort of plot twist. It's like Dagmar's Tsumugi Shirogane from Danganronpa. I was not expecting somebody to pull off a Shirogane in the series. Oh my god. You've heard of Team Danganronpa, now get ready for Team Disenchantment. Anyways, Dagmar dumps Lucy's head in the garbage can, but Tia Beanie for some reason escapes. But then she meets Satan. And honestly, I thought he would be really creepy, like the guy who creeps even you out, unlike Big Joe. But turns out Satan is actually sexy. I mean, come on, that's the 3rd man who looked sexy in a show like Disenchantment. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's like sexier than the 2 characters who I claim they look sexy because of their outfit designs, like Oddball and Big Joe. I mean, they kind of look sexy, but they're not sexier than Audie, my boy. He's my favorite character. And my minister waifu. It's been a long time since I've called him that. But, and Lucy finds out that God has all the money behind his throne and sneaks all the way to hell with Jerry. And Alpha is taken away by ogres. But it will be mentioned in the 2nd episode later. So it turns out that all of the plot twists were made by Dagmar. The wedding starts. And all of a sudden, Bean plays a pretty clever move on her own mother. I mean, like, yeah, not the best. And then she plays a quick callback to the season 2 finale where they met Dagmar in her sexy Trog outfit. Oh my god, am I gonna be saying that word the whole time? I was just like so caught up in the moment by roasting Dagmar. But she kind of looked pretty sexy in that new demon outfit. But Bean, Jerry, and Lucy escape hell, but they ended up in Steamland, which is where we leave in the 2nd episode. Elfo's taken away by ogres, and turns out he is half ogre. We knew that the ogre mother was the mother after all. We all knew it from the start, people. You should have known this was coming ever since the series aired. So Pop tells about the origin story, about Elfo, and let me be honest, Tiny Elfo is really adorable. And yes, the ogre's mom's name is Grogda. I think that's her name. I don't know. And Junior is actually Elfo Junior, I think. But, yeah. And also the father is dead. And Alva Gunderson's back. And put on your mustache. You look pretty weird. What's weird is that when I was watching, Steamland Confidential alongside with the other few episodes, last episode ended with Bad Moon Rising, I was kind of wondering, it would have been cool if Gordy Stewson and Alva Gunderson were separate characters, and this would have been better if they switched a plot. And it turns out Steamland made a depth to hell without Dagmar's help. And so they took a really long blimp to Dreamland to protect the kingdom and take it back over. I mean, that's what they would do here. And Elfo is half ogre. I thought he was half trog, but people were denying it and saying that he's half ogre. You know what? I'm kind of on their side a little bit. Yeah, now I can definitely see it. And now we're on to the third episode, which when I first saw Why Is Fry from Futurama, I thought it was the Dr. Chaz episode would be like, oh, I think this will be like Why Is Fry? So I had to draw some concept art in my previous video. Y'all remember Chazzy, right? Third episode begins with Chaz and Zog heading to the Twinkletown Insane Asylum, which I'll be mentioning him more in this video because the other one, I only mentioned him once, but not anymore. So because of Zog's mental hostility against his own actions, he's also met with a roommate, which I'll probably refer to known as the secondary Kokichioma, known as Giggles. No joke, that's the literal roommate's name. And he's also taken in for a therapy session by Dr. Mulberry. An interesting, hard to remember name ever since Lord Lingonbury died. Because he only appeared twice. Why put him in the first episode in the counseling chambers if he wasn't going to say anything? You had one job. But he's also put away in the rubbery room to get rid of Mulberry, but they go high, they go low. He's put away in the rubber room, and watch him bounce. Boing, boing, boing. They should have brought that comeback. That should have been an interesting callback, but they did make a callback for the first episode in the first season in Love is Hell. But that doesn't make it even more interesting when he runs away by escaping, thanks to the help of Mr. Kokichi 2.0. Give it up a round of applause for Giggles. He's also taken away by his secretary for monks, and he's also met by the Rinse Master and the Shave Master. The Shave Master is actually Big Joe, and his secretary lackey Porky, who in the future should be voiced by Alec Andre. Profile on the official Disenchantment wiki, and they shave all of Zog's hair. And I just want to appreciate this one screenshot where he threatens to slash Zog's throat with a shaving knife. Anyways, Mulberry, Chaz, and Giggles tried to find Zog and put him back in the insane asylum, but the one scene that really caught me off guard is that they hold Big Joe as the hostage. They tied him up, and then they put him inside the donkey cart. That scene really caught me off guard. I mean, we've seen like a few scenes like these, but they never caught me off guard. Like, we seen Una being dragged away at the bottom of the ocean. we seen Elfo and Bean being held as hostages in a heist. Like, heck, we've seen the trio being burned alive at the stake, but somehow survived. I don't know what to say about that one scene. It really caught me off guard, and I was not expecting that. And also, Porky just smirked at the end while he was being taken away. I don't know, is it for assassination or an interrogation? I'll let you decide because I was really caught off guard. But he does escape by finding Vip and Vap, I think. But he does find a way somehow, but they reunite, but Bean, Jerry, and Lucy reunite with Elfo, and they unexpectedly find Laughing Horse at the end of the episode. Fourth episode, Goon Baby Goon, turns out Becky and Chloe have taken over Dreamland. And we finally got to see my boy Oddfall. And he's sweeping the floors. Actually cleaning the floors, but oh, why did they have to be treated like this? Nobody deserves to be treated like this. They need to improve their character development. But it doesn't mean they'll get worse anytime. I was a little bit wrong. But some characters, especially recurring characters, deserve more screen time. And that's true. But since Cloyd and Becky are taking over Dreamland without Dagmar, Zog and the trio decided to stop them before it's too late. And the royal treatment, not to mention that it's honestly scarring, and Sorceria was actually a magician at Bean's 8th birthday party. And the children locked him up in the dungeon. I find Sorcerio a really sus character. Now that he's really developed in the 4th season, because back in season 3, he was really getting on my nerves. Especially when he said I'm on it to grab the best medical care in the kingdom, which almost caught me off guard, but I'm not expecting someone to act so sus while finding medical care in a castle who is being neglected by its own ruler. And don't forget the wink-wink scenes. Ugh, so sus. But I'll talk about him being more sus in a future video, but moving on. It was gonna be over. The end of Dreamland would be nigh, but Jerry came to the rescue. And he saved all the day, and Dreamland is back to normal. And Chloe and Becky are still plotting, but they took the escape pod. Yeah, we might as well get to see more Chloe and Becky in the future season. Next year. Episode 5, and this is where things start to really tick me off. Zog decides to reclaim the throne of Dreamland after Oddfall saying, "You can't both be ruler." And we have Freckles. Oh my god. Oddfall tells Sorcerio to throw this little bastard away in the dumpster, which I didn't know he had. The garbage chute. But in his subconscious, Freckles tells Sorcerio to bring him back to life. But Jerry's in a turn, and I didn't know Oddfall had a beating stick. And I loved the little 3 beatings, 4 beatings, 5 beatings. It really caught me out. It really got me off guard, but I liked it. It was one of my favorite moments in that episode, but Freckles was brought back to life, and Sorcerio got a promotion for bringing a literal puppet with witchcraft. Is this guy serious for real? Why does he exist as a character who doesn't exist in a storyline just to make me feel upset? And it honestly kinda bothers me for basic reasons that I don't understand. I hate Sorcerio. And his character development developed worse. He got an extra star on his dunce cap. And then it turns out Freckles is an all-scheming puppet trying to separate Bean and Zog, and all of a sudden, Cloyd and Becky turned into puppets. Where are they now? Or is it just... or is it... I don't know if it's just... I don't know if Cloyd and Becky will ever return, or maybe it's just the puppets that came back to life. But I guess that makes almost about amount of sense, but I put the blame on Cercerio. But mostly Zog, because he was going insane in the madness of King Zog. And it turns out Oddfall and Cercerio are roommates. And I'm all like, oh my god, they were roommates. I just thought he had to sleep in his office the whole time. No wonder Miss Moonpence is so busy. But Bean, Elfo, Lucy, and Zog all fall into the ocean in the 6th episode. And all of a sudden they're met with an underwater castle who turns out to be a secret dreamland room. You remember when I said the Elf Kingdom is actually the Dreamland Kingdom? Well, you know now because also Mora's back. And there's these creatures called the Sea Trogs, and they look kind of weird. I mean, their designs are kind of quirky though, but also the return of Sven really caught me off guard. And I didn't even know Zoidberg made a cameo. I thought that was just a man who drowned in the sunken ship. But the sunken castle, I love the glowing moss aesthetic. It really kind of fits the mood there. I would live there. Also, I forgot to mention Stacy and LeBlanc also makes a cameo in the 3rd episode of the 4th season. And I didn't know she had wings for arms, and that's kind of freaky. And she also mentioned Porky. And Mora saved Bean from drowning. Yay! Oh boy, where do we start? Also, where's Freckles in all of this? And Oddfall, and Cercerio. But mostly Freckles in the puppets, which I'm going to refer to as Freckles, Cloyd, and Rebecca. I'm not calling Becky Rebecca anymore. Just Becky Becca. Beckham. Episode 7, The Unbearable Lightning of Bean. Things are getting kind of weird. But Bean decides to take over the throne, and we're off. Ursula returns, and a new character, Jasper, has appeared. And Bear Boy doesn't sound like an unnecessary nickname. And P.T. McFrickin' makes a comeback to the 4th season for more creatures at his freak show. I don't like him already. And you'll find out pretty much why. I think. I also hate that scene where Oddfall gets secretly sucker punched by Bean. Every time he gets abused, it's not his character development. It doesn't have to be like this, people. Just let him be. Anyways, Jasper is not my new favorite character, but he's okay. I'll get used to him sometimes. I still hate P.T. McGee. Meanwhile, in that exact same episode, Bean is dealing with her coping mechanism of Mora. But it's okay. With Elfo and Lucy by her side, she'll never feel alone. So the trio head back to the castle, but all of a sudden they fell down to where there was a war between elves, people, and mermaids. Bean was about to touch a sword from the mermaid skeleton, who once had electrical powers, because she was the original ancestor, I think. But that might explain Bean's electric powers, I guess. But Derek and Jasper do some bonding, and I didn't even know Snarla was still in it. I was still waiting for Sagatha, and she was hiding away from the PT. Why did they have to make him go back? I feel so ashamed. Spy versus Spy versus Spy, episode 8. And I didn't get the reference at that point, but I know where it was from. And I did not read the comics. I heard it on a YouTube channel. Bean has some organized queen duties. And the first up is Oddball. And I love him, but stop antagonizing him, Lucy and Elfo. I'm looking at you, you little bug-eyed weirdo. Don't name his eyes, and don't play around with his eyeballs. And then Rulo decides to share a room with the elves, but Bean says no. But it was the original home for the elves, but what are you gonna do about it? And Oddball brings the casserole, but Rulo tips it over. That scene just made me laugh. I feel so bad for that casserole. I might as well play for the damaged coda. I don't know why it's coda at the end. It just makes it weird. But Bean sends Elfo to spy on the elves why they want Dreamland. But it fails completely. The elves send Elfo to spy on the Trogs. And Bean is having some nightmares. A few bit of nightmares. And it turns out Levo is a Trog. No! My baby! He was the very thing that I liked. He may not have been my favorite character, but he's still a cool guy. I like his ponytail. That's what made him so special. And that's what made me like him. If you like him, I'm sorry. Your childhood is ruined. Well, your teenagehood, I think. Episode 9! Elfo is about to be sacrificed by giving the goo to the Trogs. But hey, the elves and the Trogs form an alliance. Also, the mop girl's name isn't Miri, it's Mary. You just pronounce it weird in the show. At least Lucy and Mary have some bonding, so I no longer have to call her Mop Girl. Bean is still having nightmares, but she drinks some tea to help her calm down. And Freckles, oh god, why even? Freckles decides to send Derek and Jasper for a midnight walk, but they're all of a sudden met by Slapjack, Zippity, and Doodah. Derek shows some confidence and accidentally killed an elf, so they decide to move away. Thanks, Freckles. You're ruining everything. You're my least favorite character. I don't know why you would exist. I think Zog's doing pretty good. I think he's slowly becoming my back to the mediocre section. And all of a sudden, at the ending, turns out the someone who was pulling Bean's hair was another Bean. Before we get into the final episode known as Bean Falls Apart, I do want to say last year, I was going to create an evil version of Bean known as Tijuana. She looked like the complete opposite of Tia Beanie because I thought Tijuana was a type of weed. But anyways, we're moving on to the Le Final episode. And oh boy, I'm so scared to talk about this. But there's this one scene that traumatized me, and I'm deciding to talk about the episode. Okay? We good? Bean meets her doppelganger known as Bad Bean, or Evil Bean as I like to call her. And she reveals her her full name, once again, just like in Swamp and Circumstance. And they go a lot of, evil bonding and conversations, and Bean needs to find a reason why the other Bean has a reason to kill her, I think. And Lucy says that he has an evil twin named Goosey, which... You know what? The trio can have opposite sides, but they're not headcanon in the show or canon in the show. While Bean's having nightmares, Zog comes in to check on her and Elfo, and unexpectedly, Oddball falls out of Bean's doorway and saying that he was out for a morning snoop. Maybe he's having nightmares too. And Zog takes him away to find Derek, Freckles, and Jasper. I think I said that order wrong, but Zog, Oddball, find out about the elf secret meeting. And then the greatest insult comes from Oddball. He says, "You're an ignoramus." Nice one. That's the great insult that I've ever heard of from my boy. It's been a long time since you've stood up for him. Or against him. And another thing that I haven't noticed... Bean has a lot of weapons under her bed, and she occasionally drinks the sacred goo. And, well, this one scene where Tia Beanie almost destroyed Dreamland, Doomsday Edition. What is this, Doom Eternal? Turns out that Freckles took Derek and Jasper to Steeland for a freak show. And he was working for PT all the time, and then reveals he's a puppet, so he's taken away. And then Zog Oddball returned to Steamland to save their sons from the puppet, but PT punches Zog in the face. But what does Oddball do? You won't believe it unless you watch the series. He rolls up his sleeves, takes off his hat, revealing his freaking third eye. And then he says, "Yowza, I like what I see here." And then, weirdest comeback that traumatized me is that he punched Oddball directly towards the face where his nose was. That really hurt my face. I was so scared a little bit. I thought he died for some reason. Wait, where's Zog? Oh no. Damn it. Oh no. Turns out Bad Bean escaped from the dream realm and now she's stuck, taking over Bean's form while the original Bean's stuck in the mirror, but Lucy pulls her out. Evil Bean calls out to hell, releasing Dagmar and Satan. And it turns out they still reach to Dreamland in another elevator, which they were going to destroy. And onto Steamland, everybody's being turned into a mockery and a humiliation, including my boy. I'm so scared. At least he didn't die in the 4th season. Hopefully he won't die in the 5th season. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, but I'm terribly horrified about what's gonna happen next season. Satan and Dagmar get here, but original Bean kills the Bad Bean. And she gets knocked off a cliff and thrown into the water where we meet Mora. Great ending, but I'm still having a great concern for I feel bad for him. I am feeling so sorry for my baby. Especially Derek, because he's my favorite character. I hate Freckles. Why bring it back in the show alongside with P.T. McGee? Well, I did make a dos sabritas after watching it the first time. And you know what? I decided to make a meme of what would happen to Bean and Mora. Maybe she'll return to Mermaid Island alongside with her. I think that's what would happen. But anyways, let's talk about the details about season 4. Alright, so we're watching this 4th season of Disenchantment. I realized a couple of things that I might have missed. Dagmar's been hiding all the plots this entire time with Bean, which was crazy, and I talked about how she resembled almost like Tsumugi Shirogane. Yes. And I realized that sometimes Elfo can be a little bit of a jerk sometimes. You know what? I'm fine, but some episodes just really tick me off. Like the good, the bad, and the bum. In episode 3, I realized that the rinse master, the wash master are brothers, and the shave master is the cousin of the rinse master. And in a few episodes, I feel like everybody is mentioning Porky all the time. Is this why nobody talks about Bruno? Oh my god. Everyone talks about Porky. Everyone talks about Porky. Maybe that could be a parody, but I wanna make a Disenchantment version of We Don't Talk About Bruno, but we don't talk about Zog. Okay, Zog's character development is getting slightly better, even though his head shaved off. And there's 3 hairstyles in the monk situation. The cue ball, the snow globe, and the Porky. Only 2 without the hair. But Porky! I almost said it was gonna look like an ugly hairstyle, but Fine. If I were Zog, I'd choose the Porky before I even knew it. And also, when Oddball gave Bean some beer, it kind of reminded me of Are You Drinking Pepsi for Breakfast? Episode 6. I was not expecting another species of Trog to be there. Also, Zoidberg. I did not notice. He looks pretty different. Maybe it's the brother from that Farnsworth Paradox episode? I was not expecting to have Ursula make a comeback in the quote-unquote racist antelope also makes a comeback. When he first appeared, he said this, an elf with a human girl? That ain't right. He's like he knows what elves are capable of. And Bean should be warned about it and stay alone as far as possible. Maybe the antelope is something. That doesn't look like an antelope, I think. R.I.P. Casserole. And we don't see Merkimer in any of these episodes, but what's nice to know is that we finally know who is the one causing the nightmares. It's the other Bean. Or Tia Beanie, Maria Beanie, De La Ruchambeau, Gronkwitz. Remember the name, remember the face. In the 10th episode, remember that line, here comes the fist? I can't stop thinking about that one scene. That ending caught me off guard. I'm horrified and devastated of what happened to my oddball. But I hope next year we'll get a new season. I'm going to draw tons of concept art even though it's been one season released per month. Stacy Ann LeBlanc actually has a full body type, and I wasn't expecting Satan to look so sexy. So, I mean, we've had like lots of sexy character designs in Disenchantment. Like, we have Big Joe, we have Lucy, but he doesn't wear clothes. Heck, we even have Pendergast. I liked him until he died. Alec Andre's page on the Disenchantment wiki says that Porky is also with Lucy and Pendergast. So hopefully he gets a speaking role in some of the episodes next year, but now, if you excuse me, I have to watch Johnny Tucello's video about Part 2's Disenchantment. Sayonara!